thoughts on cyber breach protocols and regulations about disclosures coming up in the government and how that's going to play out?
Who wants to start? I can start.
So we don't have a federal disclosure law, and that's a major problem. Ironically, some of the least populated states like Montana have the strongest laws, and so we learn about breaches from the states that have the best laws. We learn about a ton of breaches from Montana because it includes like 10 Montanans, and so they have to disclose it. GDPR, you have to disclose it to the EU body, but they never disclose it to the population. So like we're in a weird state where everyone's being breached, but no one knows who's being breached unless they happen to like breach 10 Montanans. And that's not good, right? So we need like common sense disclosure laws. Also, I have a big problem with the next step. Like if you disclose my data, you should tell me exactly what data you disclosed, and then you gotta do something to protect me. And a year of LifeLock's not going to cut it, right? Because if you leak my social, which has happened, a year's not enough. Like that's a lifetime threat. You need to provide lifetime protection, and that's nowhere close to any regulation. So like we're really at stage one. We need to know who's been breached, and then we need those companies to have an obligation to fix it.
Yeah, the problem is completely bonkers right now. It's not just siloed by states and jurisdiction. It's even siloed between cyber insurance carriers and the folks who are paying for the liability for the stuff that's already out there. It's complete chaos right now. There have been a number of attempts to try to do something at the federal level to at least bring some sanity within the U.S. But God bless if you think Congress is going to be able to kind of get their act together anytime soon. But look, it's definitely a problem that everyone knows exists. Very smart people are making proposals around it. I know that the current administration is trying to come out with like executive orders and stuff like that in order to try to address it. But we're still in chaos mode right now, where we, to the point that we have overlapping stuff that like is completely chaotic.
I don't have a ton to add. I mean, LifeLock is going to be free for all of you forever on the current state of things, right? Yep. My thought is if companies don't have to start paying for these breaches in meaningful ways, then the externality doesn't get changed. And you look at the fines and, 40 million people got leaked and the fine is $1 million. It doesn't matter to the company that leaked the data. So until those fines catch up with reality, now in the EU they may have, right? GDPR is a fine based on revenue. Well, that'll do it. But we have to do that here in the United States. Currently, both privacy laws and breach laws are woefully inadequate, and we don't even have a privacy law actually. So yeah.
So we actually reached out to a state government, I won't name names, but we found 3 companies that were in direct violation of their disclosure laws. We went through the data that was stolen. We found it required 1,000 people that lived in state. The leaked data had addresses, and we reached out to the Attorney General, and it was silence. So I think we have laws, and then we have Attorney Generals who want to be friendly to business, who are willfully refusing to enforce the laws. And I think that's going to be a continuing problem as long as it's state by state. You give the Attorney General the leeway to determine how friendly to business they want to be, and that currently means not enforcing breach laws.
Do we have any other questions from the audience?
First off, I appreciate y'all's thought leadership here, so thank you for sharing your expertise. I'm not a cyber professional, I'm just a sales rep, but you guys have broken my brain on something, so I'm curious if you can help me repair it a little bit. But to what degree is there enough debt in terms of privacy and information that's already out there that such a focus on privacy doesn't actually drive a security outcome in terms of reduction of breaches? And I don't know how to package that together, but I'm going to throw it to the experts.
I don't understand the question.
No, translate the question.
Yeah, I'll summarize. So if I can, and correct me if I'm wrong, we've had so much information stolen that is privacy debt, right? Like if we're focused on, so there's about 700 companies that are buying and selling your personal information today. They don't have your permission. They just do it because they're allowed to. You may have heard of Spokio. Spokio has your information. You never gave it to them. And they're just the most popular, right? There's a lot of others. So there's data traffickers that their whole business is violating your privacy in some way. And so the question is, like, has so much information been stolen? And the answer is yes. There's a ton of information that's been stolen, and you can't ever get that back. But it's a moving target, and I think it would be good if the target stopped moving, right? If I can no longer sell your information to the highest bidder, then that's fewer people that can steal it and then give it to hackers, right? And so I think that strong laws and technology, like there's some potential around Web3 identity where I loan you my information and then I can take it back, right? There's technologies that exist or could be built that would allow me to have more control over who has my information and for how long. That would stop the flow of information, and the more you stop it, the less it can be stolen. So I don't believe privacy is dead. I believe that we have a whole industry that is likely to be killed if we have stronger privacy laws, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but I'm just one person.
Yeah. I guess my only piece is it's hard for me to envision a world in which we can meaningfully reduce the trafficking of data. I'm just, as you said it out loud, I was just trying to think through what are the tools that we could use to do it. And the reality is I'm not sure if they exist yet. But you know, look, that's the opportunity, right? And so that's what I feel like we have to figure out.
And I'll draw a direct example for healthcare, right? So there are laws that control who has access to your healthcare records, and if you go really aggressive, you can enforce those. If you don't go aggressive, everyone's going to look at your records. And there's also laws about penalties, strong penalties for if those records are leaked. And there's rules about who can look at it, what can they do with it, what decisions can they make with it, and you can enforce those. There's also ways that you can keep track of your healthcare records and look for like improper records and ask it to be redacted. I think HIPAA's as close as we've come to privacy-related laws and penalties, but that's all around healthcare. And so, to your point, nothing exists today where you are in control of your own information, but that could change either with technology or regulation.